From problematic actors to bad test ratings, Aquaman 2 has been running into a lot of issues. But that's not all, because apparently it could potentially be the worst DCEU movie ever. Now, the film recently had some test screenings and things are not looking good. According to reports, people have rated it so low that it's apparently DCEU's worst project to date. To make matters worse, there are rumors that Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman, is now desperate to leave the franchise and become the new DCU's Lobo. And it's not just the viewers that aren't excited about the new film. James Gunn, who is now DC Studios co-CEO, recently presented his upcoming DC films. And when he talked about Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, he only had high praise for The Flash and Blue Beetle. He called them fantastic movies, and even said that he really loves The Flash. However, he barely mentioned Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is obviously not a good sign. If your company's own CEO knows it's a pass, you know it's not going to end up great. But it's been such a highly anticipated project with a great team and a great prequel. So what's the actual problem here? I mean, not all sequels live up to the hype of the first movie, but to hear that this one is being called dull doesn't bode well. I know that Jason Momoa is a huge star, but even his star power might not be enough to save this movie. The thing is, he hasn't really gotten consistent positive feedback from audiences, even though he's been trying his hand at different genres. And let's face it, a sequel to a blockbuster superhero movie should be getting rave reviews at test screenings. So what is it? Is it the story, the delivery, the cast? Apparently, even Amber Heard's involvement isn't the main issue, despite the controversy surrounding her. Reports are saying that her part in the movie has been shortened, but that still doesn't explain the lackluster response to the test screenings. One theory is that the movie had some behind-the-scenes issues during production, and maybe that's impacting the final product. It's been said that Warner Bros. Had some management problems in the past. Still, that's not really an excuse for a bad movie, is it? Especially since the first one turned out great. So, what's with the changes in the franchise? I'm sure we all remember the first Aquaman movie that came out in 2018. It was a hit with audiences, and everyone was excited for the sequel. But since then, a lot has happened that might be impacting the second movie. One of them, of course, was the COVID-19 pandemic. That hit and threw everything off course, including the production of the film. But perhaps the thing that brought a bigger change was the shift in power at DCEU, with James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over. That meant some projects and actors got left behind, and maybe this movie didn't get the same resources it got the last time around. Either way, it looks like the future of DC is going to be very different from what we're used to. So, what does that mean for Aquaman 2? Well, I'm not quite sure yet, but with all these changes going on, it's possible that the movie might not be exactly what we were all expecting this whole time. Because, again, the reviews have just not been good. Okay, so The King of Atlantis dives into theaters on Christmas Day, December 25th, but according to insiders, the test screenings till now haven't been going well at all. One of the insiders, viewer Anon, said that they've had about 6 test screenings and it's just not looking great. Apparently, the feedback has consistently been that the movie is boring, not as good as the first one, and possibly one of the worst movies in the DC extended universe. Another insider, Big Screen Leaks, had similar views and even mentioned that something pretty unusual happened in one of the test screenings. They're really hoping that the director, James Wan, can fix the movie before its release in December. One of the insiders said that they don't like to criticize movies, but when there are multiple test screenings and the feedback is consistently bad, it's hard to keep quiet. They also mentioned that they like Wan and know that he's had a tough time with this one, so they're hoping for the best. Overall, it sounds like Aquaman 2 might not be living up to the expectations set by the first movie. Let's hope that the director can make some changes and turn things around before the release. That said, this isn't the only issue they're dealing with. After all, there's the whole Amber Heard controversy to sort out as well. I mean, after the changes, her Heard's character, Mira, doesn't have a significant presence in Aquaman 2. Yep, that's right. She was supposed to be one of the main characters in the film, but her scenes have been cut short from the film's final few drafts. There has been a lot of controversy surrounding Amber Heard in recent years, with some accusing her of abusive behavior towards her ex-husband, Johnny Depp. Their public trial and Depp's eventual victory led to a massive wave of hate toward the actress. People demanded to have her removed from not just the film, but from Hollywood. However, it seems that the studio is standing by its decision to keep her in the movie, despite the backlash from some fans. At least they cut her parts short, right? Seems like a fair deal to me. So it looks like the criticism of Aquaman 2 isn't necessarily aimed at Amber Heard's presence or her performance, but rather at other aspects of the movie. Only time will tell if the director is able to make the necessary changes to turn things around before the film's release in December. Though again, it's like this big mess that no one really understands right now, because we don't even know much about Momoa's future in the DCEU after this. Now, it would be very disappointing if Aquaman 2 doesn't deliver, but at the same time, with the new DC slate coming, it's not likely that the character would see a third movie. And maybe that's also why Momoa has his eyes on Lobo. That said, since Gunn and Safran have stated that no actor will portray more than one character in the DCU, it could mean that Aquaman 2 is the last DC movie for Momoa as a superhero. Maybe he sees being an alien anti-hero as more appealing. His own recent social media interactions hint at something big happening for him in the near future. But right now, things are vague and rather potentially disheartening. However, there's one question left to answer now. Is Aquaman 2 really gonna be a big failure? I mean, I know the film didn't do so well in its test screening, and the makers don't have much time left for post-production. But you know what? Critics don't always get it right. There have been plenty of movies where they've slammed it, but the audience loved it. Sure, the negative word of mouth from the test screening might affect the film's release, but we shouldn't give up hope just yet. Maybe Aquaman 2 will surprise us and turn out to be amazing. And let's be real, the bar isn't exactly set high, considering DCEU's recent films. For this one, we've got Jason Momoa, along with a star-studded cast that includes Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Dolph Lundgren, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Temuera Morrison, and Nicole Kidman. How bad can it really be? This is the 15th and final movie in the DCEU franchise, so its box office performance will determine how the whole thing ends. I say, despite the negative reviews, let's keep an open mind and give it a chance. Who knows, it might surprise us. And that, folks, was all for Aquaman 2's horrendous test ratings.